A great morning to all of you today. So we would like to welcome you to our first webinar titled Lock Out Your Lockdown Anxieties, Smash Work from Home Anxieties. Today we have a wonderful speaker for us, Mr. Chokman Song, a qualified neuro-linguistic programming NLP coach and also a NLP trainer. He is a satisfied clinical hypnotherapist. Besides years of experience in the financial and payment industry, Chalkman graduated as a civil engineer as an MBA from universities in UK. He also holds a degree in psychology and a certified financial planner in Malaysia. While working in the financial industry, Chalkman spends time with working with the executive coaching and also supported teams in financial goal planning. He is the Melbourne City lead for a voluntary US-based organization called Sidewalk Talk, helping people who wants to have a listening ear. So it is our pleasure to have him today and share with us his experiences and knowledge with us. So let's welcome him. Chokman, please begin.
Marty, thank you so much for the introduction. Appreciate that huge, long accolade of qualifications. But what really matters is how do we all put this in practice? And today, I would say that the objective of this session is really to find and share simple tools to help ease anxieties in this pandemic world. Imagine if you have those simple tools to help you ease those anxieties at home. And of course, anxieties is a spectrum. Some have sort of a deeper, or some of them more shallow sort of anxieties. So depending on where you are, some of it can be sort of some people can make use of these tools. So what I'm going to do is I will talk about anxieties relating to the pandemic, the lockdown. But this is arising from an earlier webinar with Utah in September when there was this request from participants to have a talk on this anxiety related to the lockdown. But that's 2 months ago. Now, 2 months down the road, we are talking about post-lockdown anxiety. And there's a common term called re-entry. Now, re-entry or post-lockdown has its own anxieties as well. People suffer from post-lockdown anxieties because now they have to go out into the public and they don't feel safe. And so these are the things that we will talk about. So I am going to share my screen. So let me just do that. And if I can find the right buttons to share that, if someone can give me a nod if you can see my screen. Komati, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Reading. Okay, okay, Komati, I was just reading, and I thought you said yes. Very good. So good afternoon. Good afternoon to people in Melbourne and Sydney. I know there are some people dialing in from Melbourne and Sydney, and good morning to those dialing in from Malaysia and Singapore. Now, as Komati mentioned, I am Chokman and I am from Extraordinary Life, and I am currently based in Melbourne. So what I'm going to do is I am going to sort of talk about three objectives here. One is to talk about and be aware of anxieties relating to lockdowns or post-lockdowns. And then the second thing is to have an overview of how to conquer those anxieties. Finally, I think more critically, and then we'll spend the last half hour of this 1 hour session to practice and work out one particular NLP approach in overcoming anxiety. And that is called Circle of Excellence. So I will talk a little bit, explain about a little bit more about NLP and Circle of Excellence later down the track. So that's what we want to achieve today. And the flow would be talk about, and I would like you to participate as well. Put your comments on the chat box if you can. Talk about lockdown anxieties and post-lockdown anxieties. How does it impact individuals? And then approaches to conquer those anxieties. Yes. And then, as I say, we will do one session on a follow-along session with me. So I hope you will participate in that session. And the only thing that I would say is when you participate in that session, make sure you have some space where you can stand up. If you're not in the car, hopefully you're not in the car or something, darling it. Stand up and you have some space in front of you, something like a meter by a meter at least. So that's the thing. And if you are not, maybe you can get ready to go into a space and dial in from a space that you have that, so that you can follow along in that sort of exercise. How does that sound, Marty? You okay? I can't hear her, but I would imagine it would be. Now, I would like your participation on this, and I am trying to locate the chat box. Sorry, I'm trying to locate the chat box, and I can't find where the chat box is. So I would like you all to sort of put in your thoughts on what the anxieties are in relating to lockdowns. You know what? I really can't see the chat box, and therefore I will not. But maybe I will share with you what they are and see whether it relates to you. When there is lockdown, the people are home more often. Now, when people are home more often, the great thing is that a lot of them people would cherish working from home. Then they don't have to commute. That's a change in behavior, not having to commute. And not having to commute, they will have more time. And when they have more time, they have more time to do things. Whatever things that they are doing may or may not add to relaxation or anxieties. That is depending on what the person do with more time. Another thing is that families are closer together. They are sort of in some way confined. Some like it, some don't. Some cherish the time as a family together, where they can play games as a family, watch movies, watch streaming of Netflix and any other movies that they can get their hands on. Others would be listening, doing individual things like podcast, listening to podcasts. But the great big thing is that with those with children, they tend to have to work with the children who have to dial in for their home school. So that becomes a challenge that adds on to the pressure of the parents who most of them may be working. And that causes anxiety. So handling children have to be closer together. Some of them are bonding together. Some of them are probably stepping on each other's toes, if I can say that. So there is this change, and there is no dining out. Every meal is at home, or most of the meals are at home, or at least even they have their takeaways, they would have to self-dine at home. But I want to share with you some of the interesting things that went on when working from home, because so many people are on Zoom. And this is a 3-minute video, and I hope you find this interesting.
Yeah, whatever. Guys, we can hear your conversation and we don't want to. So
You can go hang out with Callista like you do in class every day.
I don't know about
When did you add her on social media?
Like literally 5 years ago, Natalia, before I ever knew you'd done that.
Hey, Natalia.
Oh, I wish I never met you.
Hey, Natalia. Natalia, can you mute yourself?
Vi har ikke fått alle detaljene, så det kommer mer detaljer på det på torsdag. Og som sikrer at selskapene nå får mer tilgang til penger gjennom...
That's how it's gonna Let's make sure everybody has clothes on. Come on, guys.
Clint, no, your video is on.
States don't even have good regimens to keep the data to make sure that I'm sorry, the bird just landed on his head.
It's okay, it's okay.
Sorry, let me
All
start
good.
over.
All good.
Tony!
Can you hear us?
Tony!
Oh no! Don't, Jen, call him. Oh my gosh! Hold on, I'm gonna text a couple pictures of that. Oh. Oh. Oh boy.
What's up?
Tony, I can see you in here.
We can all see you.
I hope you find this entertaining. I certainly did. Every time I watched it, I sort of can't help laughing and enjoying this particular video. Now, really, while we enjoy this Zoom fails, just imagine those people on the other side and how they feel. Those people who were caught on the wrong end of the video camera. So we probably have come across done some of this ourselves, probably not as drastic as some of this, walking up naked and all this, but it causes anxieties. So this is what's happening, and this lock at home, forced physical closeness, is causing a lot of anxiety to people in general. Now, then, as I say, lockdown has ended in most cities. We have a re-entry, going back to work. And this itself causes other anxieties. Anxieties like, I have to commute to work. I have to interact with people socially. And even when you interact with people socially, do you continue to do your elbow bump, or do you handshake, or do you hug people? So these things, we are starting to relearn how to interact socially. Visiting relatives, you are still, because COVID is still around, when you visit relatives, you are also concerned about one, contracting it yourselves. Secondly, you're also concerned about potentially passing COVID viruses to the people that you visit, especially people like your older relatives. So these are the concerns that is bugging people now. Of course, with this pandemic, there are lots of jobs, there are redundancies. And I heard of many people saying this: if your job can be done at home, what makes it not possible for someone to take over your job either in Philippines or India or some lower cost countries. So these are the concerns that goes through people's minds, and this causes a lot of stress. I'm looking at the time now. So for this thing to be to be managed, first, I would suggest making sure that the adjustments is done progressively. Now, progressively meaning if you have a choice, if you have to go back to work in the office, start with, say, 1 day a week, if the company allows, and then 2 days, 3 days, and not go cold turkey and go all 5 days at the same time. As I say, if the company allows, and if you don't feel comfortable going to the office all 5 days in a week, and your company requires it, have a conversation with your manager. Have a conversation with manager to work out something. And I would imagine most managers would be understanding enough to allow some sort of flexibility. So that's one way to ease into this new post-pandemic sort of work environment. The other one is progressive dining out. I know I know personally of a lot of people who are afraid to go out to dine because the restaurants and cafes are sort of small or smallish, and you are quite close to tables, your neighboring tables, adjacent tables. So you need to perhaps to ease in. My suggestion is to actually have dine outs where you actually can go on non-peak hour first, where there are less people or chances of less people, or go to restaurants where there are less people. Maybe you're helping the businesses or businesses of those who hasn't got as many customers. So that's great. Traveling, same thing. Traveling, if you are concerned about going into the air and be cooped up in a plane with 300, 400 people, perhaps try some shorter distances or try to travel to areas where not as many people would travel to. So that will help you ease into the sort of a travel routine. Another one, when you're commuting to work, if you have to go into the office, I think one of the biggest concern or anxieties causing event is be in a train or in a bus with hundreds of people. The best really is to, if it is possible, work out a time when I didn't go in earlier or you go in, leave the office later, so that the buses and trains are less packed. So these are the progressive adjustments that I would suggest you do. As I said, I can't see the comments. I don't know where the comment box is on my two monitors. So I will plot on. And Kumati, if you have any comments or any remarks or insights, to share them. Kumati.
Sure.
Yeah. So now, I talk about this easing in, but I think the biggest part is if you are anxious with any of these things, or even the things that I have not talked about, you need to, first of all, identify your emotional triggers. Your emotional triggers meaning what makes you anxious. If you have that, then you would at least know where to start and focus on those areas where that drives you to be anxious. As an example, when I talk about commute, if you are anxious about being close to people in packed buses or trains, at least you now know that it is because you are concerned with that closeness, with the proximity with people. I know if you read articles on anxieties related to pandemic and post-pandemic anxieties, there is a lot of reference to agoraphobia, fear of going out, fear of open spaces. And in some way, this sort of post-pandemic anxieties is very similar in terms of people who have been locked down for a long time now having to go out into society. So understand your emotional triggers. Of course, the next one is actually speak to someone. Speak to a friend, a trusted friend, a relative. See what they, how they can help us by speaking out to and reaching out to them. It helps you talk this out. Of course, you need to talk to someone who is understanding, who doesn't sort of trivialize what you are facing. Like, oh, how can you be so stupid as to be fearful of taking a bus? Oh, that's okay. That is not a great way for a friend or relative to advise someone who's facing anxiety. So you need to select, if you're anxious, you need to select someone who's understanding, who is able to listen and listen to what you have to say, listen to and understand what your concerns are. They may or may not be able to help you, but the fact that you can relate is some sort of help on its own. The fourth one in this slide is exercise. When I say exercise, I'm using the term broadly. Exercise as in going for a walk, going for a run, cycle, but also I am also talking about exercise as in a mental exercise like meditation, breathing. And I am going to talk more about this in the next few slides. And one of them is this NLP approach for circle of excellence. Before I do that, I want to sort of point out that if your anxiety level is very high for specific events and is prolonged and protracted, I would suggest that you actually seek professional help. That the cost of not seeking professional help may be high. At the same time, it may take you a long time to recover. So it is important that if you have concerns or strong concerns or strong anxieties, do seek out for help. Now, as I say, I'm going to do this circle of excellence, which is one of the NLP techniques to build calmness or confidence or whatever emotional state that you want to go into. So now, for those who are not familiar with NLP, NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, and it is a study of human excellence. And NLP offers techniques to be your best so that you can be the best. And this technique taps on your subconscious mind. So I am going to stand up and I make sure I remember to wear pants. And you will be able, I'm going to also tilt my camera so that you can see the full length of my body. A little bit up so you can see my head as well. And the circle of excellence is what you see on the circle, like what is the, you are seeing that picture of Mr. B. So stand up and join me in this exercise. I would want you to imagine that there is a circle on the floor in front of you. Look at that circle on the floor in front of you. That circle needs to be just bigger than, and be able to, big enough for you to stand inside that circle, just like what you see on the presentation slide. Now, I would like you to look at that and visualize what color it is. What color is that circle of excellence for you? It can be any color that you see in your circle. Is that circle moving, vibrating? I'm going to go slowly. Just visualize that circle in front of you, the different colors. Look and see where there any movement. And perhaps you may even hear some sounds coming from that circle. Maybe a humming sound, a buzzing sound, clicking sound, whatever sound that comes to you. Now, I would like you to imagine, now this is where your imagination comes in, and visualize that there is this confidence energy in that circle, that confidence energy in that circle. Visualize that confidence energy in that circle. Okay, now I want to turn to self and recall a situation in the past where you are absolutely confident. That you are absolutely confident. Think of a situation in the past when you are absolutely confident. And I'm going to give you time to think of, see what you saw then. What are you wearing? Who are you with at that time? What you see? See what you saw then. Now I would like you to hear what you heard. Hear what you heard then in that situation when you are absolutely confident. What are you saying to yourself? What are other people saying to you? What are the other people talking about? What do you hear? Hear what you heard then. And I want you to feel what you felt then. That feeling of confidence. Where is it in your body that you are feeling that feeling of confidence? Now, once you have that confidence feeling in your body and you're feeling that, I want you to step forward and into that circle of excellence. Step forward into that circle of excellence. Now, feel in that circle, now let it be like a cylinder that surrounds you. And you are in that cylinder and you feel that energy of confidence bathing you, enveloping your body in a tube. In that, now it's our circle, is a tube where you have this confidence energy in there, bathing and reaching every cell of your body. Now I want you to look at the screen and look at Mr. Bean and take a step back and into out of that circle of excellence. Now I want you to do this one more time, and again think of a situation when you are absolutely confident. You can close your eyes to think of that. It can be the same situation, or It can be a different situation. Think of that situation when you are totally and absolutely confident. Hear what you heard. See what you saw. Feel what you felt there. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel what you felt. And that feeling of confidence, once you again, when you feel that confidence, step back into that circle of excellence. And you have that tube again. Inside, you are stepping into that tube, and you are again just feel that confidence. Now, look at the screen again. Look at Mr. B. And take a step out. You're out of the circle of excellence. One more time, the final time. Again, think of a situation when you are confident, very, very confident, totally and absolutely confident. It can be the same event or it can be a different event. Close your eyes and visualize that. Hear what you heard, see what you saw, and feel what you felt. And when you're feeling confident, step back into the circle, into that circle of excellence, and again, let your energy be, that you'll be bathing you with that confidence energy. Take a look at the screen and take a step back, and you're out of the circle of excellence. Now, I've done this 3 times. I'm going to take a seat now, and I hope you have sort of follow along this session and be able to participate and sort of experience for yourself what it is, because it is a really great exercise, and it is an NLP technique to help you to sort of achieve a certain emotional state. In this particular case, I have done confidence as an emotional state. You can go on other emotional states like bravery, like calm, being calm. So any state that you want to, you can use this same technique. Now, you don't have to write anything down, because at the end of this session, we're going to share the deck with you, and this deck will have the steps to do this on your own if you wish to do that. So it will outline in detail how you take this. Now, this is an unconscious NLP approach. Unconscious meaning it taps on the unconscious mind in helping you visualize what you have experienced in the past, and then be able to jump into it later on. Now, this circle of excellence, I'm just mindful of the time. Let me just check. You have 21 more minutes. This circle of excellence can be used for not just things relating to anxiety related pandemic, but even in situations when you are, say, or going into meetings. So this is something that you can use to achieve confidence, achieve calmness, or achieve bravery. The more you do this at home, the better it is, because then you will anchor in that emotion. By the way, when I talk about anchor, one of the things that I did in September with Rita is that I talked and demonstrated anchoring. So for those who want to learn a bit about anchoring, you can watch that in YouTube. If you type in my name and Rita, it will come up, and that particular session I talked about anchoring. So this is the approach in terms of a circle of excellence. Now because I have no visibility of the chats, I don't know what the comments are, and Komati, if you see anything interesting that you want to point out, please do.
Sure, Chapman.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have a question for you,
Yep,
if you don't
sure.
mind. Yeah. So when you say that ask for help, right? So when an employee has anxiety, it's not that easy for him or for her to ask for help, because they tend to isolate themselves because they don't know what to do. So in that sense, what we can do as a co-colleague or as a friend for them, what we can do for this kind of a situation?
Yeah, it is one of the more, I'm not even a difficult question, but this is also a difficult thing to do, honestly. There is no one single approach. My suggestion is, one, when you have a colleague or a relative or friend who may be suffering from anxiety and is reluctant to, or probably is aware of the issues being anxiety. So I would first of all say that creating the awareness for that person would help. And that starts with being sensitive to the person. No, I actually said that earlier about sometimes being friends or colleagues, or we are rather dismissive. Oh, why must you have this? Why can't you be like everyone else? Just live with it. So we cannot, because everyone encounters situations and the experience is very different for each of us, and therefore some take it more anxiously, some take it very lightly. So make sure you listen to them and be sensitive. Listening meaning and not dismissive. So, and the other one is to express concern for them rather than trying to give them a solution. A lot of times we are so solution focused that if somebody tells you something, oh, I have this before, this is the solution. But probably it's not a good thing to provide solution, but to first listen and not dismiss their feelings. Third one I would say is ask questions, what they want, how are they feeling? So by asking in a caring and concerned manner, it will show up, and it is not like a very casual how are you thing, but it's a more deeper how are you. So as I say, I mean, resist the fix, resist the solution for this person. Giving advice to this, you can choose to do this. So my recommendation is to listen, encourage, and ask. I don't know whether that answers the question.
Yes. Thank you so much for the answer.
Yeah.
So
It is honestly a very difficult thing, because a person, especially a person who does not recognize that he or she is having anxiety.
Yeah, true, because it's not that easy when we can approach them and talk to them like, what can I do for you? See?
Yes,
because,
correct. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So I'm interested with your answers. Is that we as a colleague can approach them, can go and ask them, care for them. It is a very good things that we can do as a colleague.
I mean, that last month, October month, was the Are You Okay month, wasn't it? Are you familiar with this? Are you okay? Where everybody is supposed to show concern, asking people whether they are okay. And the thing is, it is okay not to be okay. So, there is a lot of, I don't know whether it's the right word, shame involved in mental illness or anxieties. People hide it away and try to sort of downplay it or try to keep it under wraps. So yeah, it is good to not just a simple "Are you okay?" but really showing concern if you see signs of stress or anxiety with this individual. Please ask them, "Are you okay? Hey, are you really, really, really okay?" So yeah. Now let me just finish one more slide and then I will take more questions. Kumati, if that's okay.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So in terms of other than the circle of excellence, there is, of course, you have heard of meditation, deep breathing, self-hypnosis, and all. I mean, even deep breathing, there are tens, if not hundreds of different approaches to deep breathing to relax. Now, I have one simple approach, and this approach comes from my training in hypnosis. And honestly, you don't have to count, you don't have to remember the steps. It's a very simple thing, which is breathe in through your nostril, breathe out slowly through your mouth, and then when you're on the out breath, just say relax. You breathe in, relax. Breathe in, and that itself is relaxing, and I find that quite effective, especially when working with hypnosis. So you don't have to learn much about hypnosis to learn this technique. It's so straightforward, and I find this simple rather than try to remember the 4 in breaths, 4 out, 4 hold your breath to count of 4, breathe out 4, and then hold your breath for 4 again. So I think, yeah, some people like certain approaches, some people like others, but my take is I suggest that this hypnosis induction, where you actually have breathe in through your nostrils slowly and breathe out through your mouth, and just stay relaxed as you go along. I mean, I would imagine you would have seen movies of hypnosis where people say, "Now," to deepen the person, and so instead of saying "now," just relax. So breathe in, relax. So this is a simple breathing technique, and of course there's meditation. There's again so many different meditations, and I am not qualified to talk about meditation, so I will leave you to find out more if you are interested to find out about meditation, which is again not just effective in terms of relaxation, but it is provide a lot of mental strength. But one other thing is music. Well, music is one of them that is readily available. Turn on the radio, turn on your Spotify, turn on whatever that is so readily available and accessible to everyone. So, and the other one is comedies. Watch comedies. I didn't talk about this earlier. If I at one time, everyone seems to be inundated with news about COVID and how many deaths, how many cases. Every day is like watching the stock market. Oh, it goes up today. Oh, it's going up. That's very honestly depressing. And I would suggest that if you want to avoid anxiety or even higher levels of anxiety, avoid that. Spend your time listening to music, spend your time watching comedies. So that's that. And one thing I would want, I want to sort of summarize here before we do the Q&A is that we are looking at what are the incidences and what triggers anxieties in lockdowns. We recognize what the impact it is to us. And we have worked on a couple of ways to relieve anxiety. For those who are keen to find out more, I have put myself out here to say that I will provide 10 one-hour sessions, 10 persons, 1 hour session via Zoom for free to just have a chat if you want to have that chat on anxiety. So now just drop me an email. My email address is on the slide. So reach out if you want to have a chat on anxiety. Everything will be kept confidential and we will have a discussion on that. Now, I think someone from Utah will be loading this deck into the chat box. And so while he or she is doing that, let's have we have 7 more minutes and to have some Q&A. And for the Q&A, if Kumati, I really need your help to, or maybe
Yes,
I stop sharing, I will probably be able to see the chat box again. Yes, I can. I can see the chat box again after I stop sharing. I don't know why it didn't appear earlier. Yeah. So, all right. So there is this person saying sometimes when I'm doing meditation, I'm disturbed by my emotion. May I know, is there any suggestion to control my emotion? Now, as far as meditation is concerned, I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves. A lot of, I don't, the person who put that comment, G-word. So they put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be totally mindful of the situation. We are totally thoughtless at that time. My take of meditation is that your emotions will pop up, your thinking will pop up. When it pop up, go back to focus on your meditation. So you will not stop those emotions popping up, but you can redirect them back to your meditation. If your meditation is to focus on your breathing, then when you have certain emotions, bring it back to the breathing again. So it doesn't mean that for 20 minutes when you're meditating, there will be no thoughts, there will be, so bring it back. I don't know whether that answers your question, Julian. Julian, you can put your comments. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Komati, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea when someone can't focus on their meditation, they have to go back to what is their main purpose of doing that. Like they have to, you know, go back to the main place. And I agree with you that we as a human, it is not that easy for us to just keep on with a blank mind. It is not that easy.
Yes.
So when people say that doing meditation is something that we can, you know, we can empty our mind, there will be
Yeah.
never such thing. So it is normal for people to get back or to have a disturbed emotion. We tend to think about our memories or something that trigger us.
Yes.
So that's fine, I guess. Yeah.
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 It is fine. I mean, as long as you come back, and I'm no expert in meditation. I know that even when we are focused on eating what we eat, that in some form is some sort of meditation. Now, when we are chewing our food, if we pay our attention to chewing out the food that we are chewing, the taste of our food, and some people call it mindfulness. And I sort of use it very loosely and think that meditation and mindfulness are in some way very similar. That's my shallow understanding of these two things. But I just believe that even like you're walking, if you're focusing on your steps, or when you're focusing on your breathing when you're walking, focusing on your swing, your gait, that itself is bringing yourself to the present, and that in a way is some sort of meditation.
Okay. Any more questions from the participants? Or any feedback or any comments?
Now, if there are none on the chat box, you all have my deck now, and for those who want to reach out just to chat about anxieties or even NLP, for instance, I'm happy to sort of have a conversation with you. So drop me an email, and we can have a conversation. And also, as I say, I will provide for the first 10 people 1 hour conversation on things that you would like to talk about, whatever that is, anxiety or NLP or things that concerns you.
Okay, so I think there is no more questions from the participants.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. I really appreciate your input and also your time in attending this. And most of all, I would like to thank Komati for moderating the session, and at the same time, Utah for doing their bit for the community. This is a very noble sort of initiative for Utah to sort of organize this, and I know it's not easy to sort of string together a group of people to share their views and also to reach out to people to come into this webinar. So Utah, thank you so much. And the next session that we're going to have is, I think, on 18th or third Friday of December, just before Christmas. I think it's 18th or 19th of December, where I will talk about self-beliefs. And self-belief is one of my favorite topics because in neuro-linguistic programming, beliefs seems to be everything. What you believe in is what you are. So join me then. Back to you, Mati.
Okay, thank you so much, participants. So we'll see you in the next webinar too. And stay safe. Take care. Bye.